Hello, I'm Professor Rad, and today we're going to talk about parentheses and what operations they imply and how that can sometimes throw us off. So one of the most challenging things I think about math is that we are looking at like a secret code that was developed by people years and years ago. So this was a code that kind of made like intuitive sense in their minds, and now we have to try and make it fit our minds. So when the secret code was created, parentheses is one aspect of that code. So we've got some parentheses here and other symbols, right? Your plus, your times, and so on. So one of the challenges with parentheses is that they can be used to group numbers. They could be used to group operations. They could be used around negative numbers just by themselves, and they could be used to imply multiplication. So since we have a lot of symbols on the page, let's go through a few of these expressions and parse out what the parentheses are being used for and what they mean. So we want to figure out whether each of these is an addition, subtraction, or multiplication problem. They don't need us to find the answer, they just need us to identify the type of problem. But if you want, you could figure out the answers as practice, and I'll put the answers on screen at the end so you can check. So I have 6 problems here. So the first one, we have 3 and then a -8 in parentheses. Whenever I have parentheses, I look to see if I'm doing any operations inside, and I think in all of these problems, they're just individual numbers. So there are no operations to do inside the parentheses. Then I look to see what is between anything outside and a parentheses. So here we've got a 3 and then a parentheses. There's nothing in between them. When that happens, that means you have a multiplication problem. So if you have a number and then right next to it some parentheses, that means you need to multiply, in this case 3 times -8. Let's contrast that with example B here. So notice that B has exactly the same numbers, the 3 parentheses -8, 3 parentheses -8, but now it has an operation in between the 3 and the parentheses. So because of that, that means this is going to be a subtraction problem. And then in part C, we now have a -8 and then parentheses around a 3. Nothing in between the 8 and the parentheses. So when there's nothing in between the number and the parentheses, that means you have multiplication. That looks like what we're going to get for part E as well, right? We've got parentheses, and then right afterwards is a number. So E looks like it's a multiplication problem as well. Okay, let's take a look at part D. I skipped it because part E looked so similar to part C. I just jumped right there. So let's look at part D. So now we have 2 sets of parentheses, one around the -8 and one around the -3. In between those 2 sets of parentheses, we have an operation. So this is going to be an addition problem. And here at the bottom, we also have 2 sets of parentheses, but now notice this time, nothing in between them. So when there's nothing in between them, that means it's a multiplication problem. Okay, so if you'd like to, you could pause the video and work out these operations as practice, and then if you unpause, I'll have my answers on the screen. And if you don't want to, that's okay too. All right. So the wobbly camera means these are my answers. So this is what I got. All right, so now here are some problems for you to try on your own. See if you can identify what operation is being implied in each of these expressions. That's going to wrap up our videos about multiplying integers. In our next video, we'll start to talk about dividing integers. I hope you have a great day, everyone.